What's good, y'all? Every day before the NBA games start, I usually go through and check the lineup of what games are on, and I kind of pick and choose which ones I want to have most of my attention to. Maybe I'll have it on a side screen, maybe I'll just be watching the box score of this one. But I go through them all, I figure it out, and for whatever reason, recently, the New Orleans Pelicans have been towards the top of my list. It just seems like whenever they're playing a game recently, it's been against a good opponent, and it's been a good close game for majority of the game. They're 10-3 since the start of March, and they have just been playing all around great basketball. And I gotta be honest, the more I watch them, the more confidence I have that they will win a playoff series. They're one of the deepest teams in the entire NBA. They have pretty good depth at all positions, basically. They have a great defense, and they are led by a superstar in Zion WIlliamson. I'm going to talk about all three of those reasons, but I want to start off with the Zion WIlliamson being a superstar because I feel like some people don't view him as that, and that is fine, but to me, he is a superstar. It comes down to what you describe a superstar as. Some people, you have to be LeBron James, Steph Curry, top of the league type of guy to be a superstar. Other guys, it's just you have to be a perennial all-star and you can be a superstar. I feel like I fall somewhere in the middle there. There's a few different things that I have to have a player do in order for me to call them a superstar. The first quality that I think all superstars have is the ability to become unstoppable and be able to put the defense at their will and do whatever they want to do no matter what. Now, if you look at Zion's numbers this year, it doesn't scream superstar. He's averaging 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists on almost 60% from the field, which are very, very good numbers, but normally when you hear superstar, you're thinking 27 points per game, 28 points per game, things like that. But if you look at the actual games and what he's doing on the court, Zion is dominating these games. Since back in high school, Zion has been dominating games by getting into the paint and finishing at the rim, and it is no change nowadays. He's still doing the same thing. Zion is 5th in the entire league in drives per game at 16.6. Like I said, he loves to drive to the basket, get there with some momentum going. No one wants to really contest a big body like Zion, so he could usually get that momentum, get that speed, get to the rim. And on those drives, he's averaging 12.3 points per game, which is 3rd only behind Shea and Luka Doncic. He really is a elite level driver. And with Zion, if you allow him to get to the rim, you have already lost. You have to build that wall, do everything you can to prevent him from getting within 5 feet of the basket, because once he's there, you're not stopping him. He's shooting over 71% at the rim this season, and when it comes to Zion, a lot of the times when he misses down there, he'll just grab his own offensive rebound, go back up, and it'll be a bucket. He has such a unique blend of size, strength, speed, jumping ability, quickness, shiftiness, the ability to contort his body throughout the air. He has like the perfect slasher build in 2K. If you were building a slasher, you would build Zion WIlliamson. Unfortunately for Zion though, he may fall into a category of being too strong or too good at finishing, kind of like we've seen with LeBron James for the last few seasons. He is too good at taking contact where he can absorb it, go up, and to the refs, it doesn't really look like he's getting touched at all just because of his strength and his ability to just go through the contact. Zion has unfortunately had to go through similar things this season. There's been times where I'm watching and I audibly hear a smack on his arm while he goes up, and the refs will just not call it because he's still able to go through, rip his arms up, get the shot off, but he's still getting fouled. I mean, I just showed you guys the numbers. He's one of the best at getting to the rim and finishing at the rim in the entire league, yet he's averaging a career low 6.9 free throw attempts. That's nice, but like you gotta get those higher. And again, I don't think it's Zion's fault. You know, he doesn't foul bait, he doesn't flop or anything. He just plays hard, goes through the contact. It's really on the refs to call it, but it's just unfortunate because he could be adding at least another like 3-4 points per game. Another quality that I think all superstars have is the ability to get their teammates involved in the game. Obviously, basketball is a team sport, and majority of the time, one player cannot win you a game, so you have to trust your teammates. Zion, he has been taking strides as a playmaker this year. He's averaging 5 assists per game, which is 2nd on the team and a career high for him. He's also having a career high year when it comes to assist to turnover ratio. He has just all around been a terrific passer. I mean, again, we've talked a lot about him being able to get to the basket and get into the lane. When he gets there, though, he has now added the ability to make a few extra passes to his teammate, whether that's dump down to the dunkers while they rotate over to the corner, back out, top of the key. He's able to make these reads and make these passes, and it makes him such a more dynamic player. And the last quality that I think all superstars have is they've proved it in the playoffs. They've been able to go to the playoffs and not crumble in the moment. They've been able to win some series, play in competitive games, all of that. Now for Zion, he has yet to make his playoff debut. 2 years ago when the Pelicans made the playoffs, Zion was hurt and he unfortunately could not play. But this year, barring injury, he is ready. He's coming into the playoffs playing some of his best basketball he ever has, and I have full confidence that he's going to be able to go out there for the Pelicans and perform to the highest ability. I usually wait to the end of the video to ask you guys these questions, but I'm very curious. Do you agree with me? Do you think Zion is a superstar? As I just mentioned though, basketball is a team sport, and of course Zion cannot win the Pelicans a playoff series by himself, and I don't expect him to, because honestly I think their biggest strength is their depth. They are a really deep team, and it's not only just the fact that they have depth, but a lot of their depth are super versatile guys and allows them to have the ability to run a lot of different types of lineups. I want to start by talking about their position group that is the deepest and the best in my opinion, and that is their wings. They are absolutely loaded at the wing / the forward position. Of course, that's headlined by Brandon Ingram, the number 2 guy over here in New Orleans. He is having arguably his best season of his career, averaging 21 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists on 49% from the field and 36% from 3. And unfortunately, Brandon Ingram did just go down with injury against the Magic a few games ago. Luckily enough though, it was just a knee contusion. In the moment, it looked really bad, but it was just a knee contusion. Hopefully he can get back healthy for the playoffs. I believe that is the case. He's looking like he will be back for the playoffs. And he's such an intricate piece to this Pelicans offense. It is really important that he does come back. He is just their main self-creation guy, where wherever they need someone to make their own bucket, it's going to Brandon Ingram, and he is one of the league's best out there. You know, they call 3-level scorers. He's about average from 3, so I don't know if you really want to count him on the 3 levels, but the first 2 of getting to the rim and in the mid-range, he cooks. He's shooting over 50% in the mid-range, over 45% in the long mid-range, and over 75% at the rim. When he was coming into the league, he was called Baby KD for a reason. He has that long 6'7" frame where he could just get to his spots, rise above the defense, shoot over them in the mid-range. I was actually pretty surprised at how well of a finisher Brandon has been as well. You know, he's kind of skinny, and usually those skinnier guys, they don't like to really attack the paint hard like that. Brandon is not afraid though. He will go there. And the part of his game that I think is most underrated is his playmaking. He's leading the Pelicans in assists per game at 5.8, and they don't really have a true or real playmaker on the roster, so Brandon Ingram stepping up and shouldering that load has been huge for them. He's been really good at figuring out how to use his scoring gravity to his advantage, to realize where his teammates are, where they'll be open, and make the right read and the pass. And Brandon Ingram is so important to the Pelicans offense. Their other starting wing is so important to the Pelicans defense. And of course, I'm talking about Herb Jones, who every single time you watch a Pelicans game, listen to the announcers. I promise you at least once they will say how Herb Jones should be all defensive first team. And I'm on their side, man. Herb Jones needs to be all defensive first team. He's 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan and an absolute defensive wrecking ball. He will block a shot here, get a deflection over here, then steal the ball here, make the guy pick up his dribble, and then play the passing lanes. He could do it literally all on the defensive side of the ball. And on top of that, he's improved his 3-point shooting as well. He has been incredible this season for the Pelicans. The elite wing play does not stop there though. They also have Trey Murphy III, who has been a really crucial piece coming off their bench. He's putting up 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists while shooting 37% from 3 on over 7 attempts. He's really one of their only volume 3-point shooters. And kind of like what I was talking about with Brandon Ingram about how he was a 2-level scorer, Trey Murphy III is kind of the same way, except instead of finishing in the mid-range, it's finishing at the 3-point line. At the rim, he is shooting 78%. 78% finishing. I also want to highlight Najee Marshall, who's had a little bit of a smaller role, but still bringing a lot of impact to the Pelicans. He's one of those guys that's always going to compete defensively, and he's brought up his 3-point shot to 38%. It's still on low volume, but it's improvements. And normally it would be an issue if a lot of your top players played the same position, because everyone we've talked about so far in this video, including Zion, plays a forward position on paper. But luckily enough for the Pelicans, all of these guys are versatile enough where they can play anywhere from 2 to 4. I mean, depending on who you're talking about, you can even run Zion at the center or Brandon Ingram at the point guard if you really wanted to get crazy with it. My point is, though, they're all super versatile. They all can shoot. They all can defend. And it allows the Pelicans to get pretty crazy with their lineups. Even with their guard depth, which is much weaker, they still keep that lineup versatility. You know, you have CJ McCollum, who is their starter, and obviously CJ brings a lot offensively to the game. You know, he is, besides Trey Murphy, their only other high-volume three-point shooter. He adds some ball handling and some playmaking, being their third leading assist guy. You know, he obviously brings a lot of their offensive guys. But when they want to go a little bit more defense, they can slot in Jose Alvarado, who's going to be that high energy, high effort, you know, that kind of crowd inducing defensive guy, that defensive leader. Even beyond that, they have guys like Jordan Hawkins, where if they really need some three-point shooting, they always slot him into there as well. Dyson Daniels, I'm super disappointed that he went down with a knee injury, because in the beginning of the season, he was playing incredibly defensively, and he lets them bring some size to that guard position. I don't think he'll be back for the playoffs, unfortunately, but still, you know, that just goes to show kind of their thought process while making this roster. And then their center position, I definitely think is by far their weakest, but they still keep that lineup fluctuity in them. Their starter, of course, is Jonas Valanciunas, who has that size, being 6'11", you know, being more of a stocky body as well. Hard screen setter, hard roller, great rebounder, and all of that. But if they want to go a different direction at the center position, they slot in Larry Nance, who's a lot more mobile. He's a lot more switchable on defense. He's you know, more of a high flyer type of guy. And if they really wanted to go small, they go Zion at the 5 at times as well. I really don't think this was anywhere near accidental, though. I like the fact that they can go and play a whole bunch of different brands of basketball and still have a lot of high-level players on the floor. They can go big against teams with more size, you know, like Minnesota or Denver. They can run a lineup out there of Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Zion, and Valanciunas. They can run small ball and do CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Herb, Zion, and Larry Nance. They can run a switch everything lineup of Brandon Ingram, Herb, Najee, Zion, and Larry Nance. They have a whole lot of versatility on this, and I really do like that, and I think playoff time, they're going to need a lot of that versatility. And with all of those different lineups they can run, the one thing that goes pretty much throughout them all is their defense. They are a high-level defense. They're 5th in defensive rating all season. And they do have their weaknesses. I mentioned before that they don't really have a good center rotation, especially when you look at it defensively. They definitely don't have a good center rotation, but they make up with it on the perimeter. They are one of the best teams at defending the three-point line. They cause a lot of turnovers. They have a lot of length, as I mentioned before, with all of their versatile wings. They can make things a living hell against your perimeter players, and that's what they try to do every single night. Obviously, a lot depends on matchups, but it looks like they're going to be versing the Clippers in this first round, and if they are, I might have to pick the Pelicans over the Clippers. And then if you look beyond that, depending on certain lineups, I mean, like the OKC, I think is a favorable matchup for them. Maybe, you know, the Timberwolves without Cat, if he's still out, that could be a favorable matchup for them. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I'm very confident in the Pelicans, and I love the level of basketball they're playing at. Let me know down in the comments, though, what do you guys think of the Pelicans? Where do you think they will cap out this season? You think they're a first-round exit, second round, third round? Will they make the finals? Let me know down in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave it a like, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. In the description, there's links to all my social medias, so make sure you follow me on all those to keep up to date with me. Catch ya.